Hello, all. Welcome to Universal Group of Institutions, Bengaluru. Today, we are discussing a very important topic, which has been the bone of contention between the central government and the state governments. Today, we are discussing the topic called as the delimitation and the controversy associated with it. See, let me take back you to the 1947 when India gained independence. The many Western thinkers, the many Western politicians believe that India will not survive as a country. For example, the Winston Churchill, he said that India is mere a geographical expression, like an equator. We are not going to survive as a country, but still, considering the diversity in terms of the religion, in terms of the language, in terms of the caste, in terms of the the existing inequalities as well, both in terms of the within the states, between the states, India went on to survive as a country. In fact, we prospered in comparison with any other nation that gained independence at that time. The what held India together was its democratic federalism. The we are not as same as the United States of America, where the nations came together and formed a nations. The one important thing that held India together was the constitutional provision of giving a greater autonomy and a greater independence to the state. But that democratic federalism has come under fire from with the various aspects, be it related to the finance commission and its tax devolution, be it the interstate equality, be it the today's topic, that is the delimitation. So in this particular topic today, we are going to discuss what exactly is the delimitation, how many delimitations commissions have been constituted in the past, what are the potential solutions as well as the challenges for that exercise. So welcome back you to the once again for this today's session. So what exactly is the delimitation? See, delimitation is a process of redrawing the boundary of a Lok Sabha constituency based upon the population changes reflected in the census. That means year on year, decadal wise, as the population is going to increase, the number of the MPs must also increase. Underlying principle is very simple. That is the democracy. There is one individual, one vote. There should be adequate representation of every individual or group of people in the legislature. That was the whole idea. So what has happened in India? The Delimitation Commission has been constituted after 1951 census, after 1961 census, after 1971 census. So based upon the increase in the population, the number of seats in the Lok Sabha has been increased to 494, 522 and 543 respectively. Because if you look at when we gained independence, approximately an MP, that is the member of parliament, was representing a 7.3 lakh members. Similarly, after that 8.4 lakh, then 10.1 lakh people he was able to represent. As I said very clearly, 53 was the first commission to be constituted after the 1951 census, 1963 census, which increased the Lok Sabha seats and which also happens to have abolished the two-member constituencies, which is very important. And the third one is a very significant, and because that is what has led to the controversy. See, after the 1971 census, the total number of Lok Sabha seats was increased to 543. Similarly, the assembly seats were increased to 390 or 3997. At this time, the 42nd Amendment Act froze the number of seats for the next 30 years. That means for the next 30 years, they froze it, saying that you cannot increase the number of seats because the family planning measures or the population control measures were taken. So based upon that, the boundary of the constituencies was supposed to redrawn. As a part of that, that means from 1971 to 2001, no increase in seats was found. Then the fourth commission that was constituted in 2002, after right after the 2001 census, what the 2000, I mean, this particular thing done is that it has not altered the number of seats. Rather, it simply pushed it to 2026, saying that the number of seats needs to be increased after the first census of 2026. That means whichever will be the census that will be conducted after 2026, based upon the findings of that particular census, the number of seats needs to be increased. But apart from this particular 2026 clause, it also redrawn some of the constituencies without changing the number of seats. Without changing the number of seats, the territorial constituencies were changed. Similarly, the proportion of SC/STs, I mean the seats, were changed right after the fourth delimitation commission. So this again, as the 2026 is nearing, now this issue has came open, saying that because moreover the 2021 census could not be held, reason being is that the COVID-19 pandemic, as a result, that is pushed. So the states are worried that the census that will be will be held right now, so based upon the findings of that census, the seats will be arranged. Because in 1971, as we saw very clearly, because at that time a MP was representing nearly a 10 lakh people. If same proportion is being taken up now, the number of seats will be increased beyond 880. Some of the states where the fertility rates have not declined, that means the population has increased, those states will see the significant increase in the number of Lok Sabha seats. Whereas the southern states, especially the Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana, where the fertility rates have declined, they are going to see that the number of seats are not going to increase at the same proportion that has happened in the northern states. So the southern states are worried that the political representation of them is going to decline in the Lok Sabha. So to protect its interest, the southern states are saying that the delimitation needs to be postponed, or there needs to be a rationalization in the delimitation. So why the delimitation plays a very important role, that you need to understand. First one, that is the reservation of SCs and STs. Reservation talks about the political representation. So in proportion to the increase in the size of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe population, the delimitation commission is going to ensure that those communities are represented adequately, because political justice plays a very important role. Point number one. Point number two, delimitation commission happens to be the impartial, even though it is being established by the legislature through the legislation. The delimitation commission functions independent of the legislature, and moreover, the findings or the suggestions of the delimitation commission cannot be questioned in any court of law. That is a very important one. Third one, delimitation commission upholds the democratic principle of one vote, one value. That means there is no underrepresentation as well as the no over political representation. It ensures the fair electoral process. This is very important. Proportional representation is very important, because some of the populations, for example, for a matter of a fact, if you look at in a Sikkim versus Rajasthan, in a state of Sikkim, and a MP of a Sikkim represents almost a 6.5 lakh voters, whereas in a state of a Rajasthan he represents a 31 lakh voters. So you can imagine, that means the individual in a Sikkim is 4.5 times more powerful than choosing his political representative than in the state of Rajasthan. So the delimitation commission is going to ensure the adequate political representation is ensured. That is the reason delimitation commission is going to it plays a very important role. So what needs to be done? What is the challenge? The great challenge is the over representation versus the under representation, as I outlined using the example of the state of Sikkim versus the state of Rajasthan. So on the basis of this, the southern states are worried that they are not going to have a major say in the Lok Sabha or the formation of the central government. It might happen that the majority of these schemes or the majority of the programs, initiatives, the bulk of the things will be diverted to the northern states. It's an apprehension, it's a the fear that is existing among the southern states, even for a matter of a fact, even the northeastern states, the small states like Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, whose representation in the Lok Sabha is going to decline if the proportion, that is the proportion of 10 lakh voters versus, the voters versus 1 MP is maintained. So what are the solutions that can be seen? Or the first solution that we need to understand is that the Rajya Sabha needs to be empowered. Look at what has happened across the any of the major federal nation. The upper house has been specifically created to protect the interest of these states. Whereas in case of India, the Rajya Sabha is not as powerful as the Lok Sabha. With regard to the financial power, something like the money bill power over the budget and all, so Rajya Sabha enjoys a little role. So what the government can do, or what the states can all together come together and come with a solution, saying that Rajya Sabha needs to be strengthened more, or at least on the lines of the United States of America, where the states are having a equal representation. United States of America is having a 50 states, and each state is represented by only two senators, and those two senators are directly elected by the people. What happens with regard to the in case of India, the members of Rajya Sabha are elected by the MLAs, that is the member of Legislative Assembly. This provision can also be done away with. And moreover, look at again the members in Rajya Sabha. The member of a Rajya Sabha who is being elected by the from a coming from particular state, he need not to be the there is no requirement of a domicile certificate. Earlier, prior to 2003, there was a requirement of a domicile. So it might happen that the MP, the Rajya Sabha MP who has been elected from that particular state, he may not uphold the interest of the state. So such change can be brought into the electing the members of the Rajya Sabha. One, the proportion of the Rajya Sabha seats needs to be increased. Point number one. Point number two, there can be provision of electing the members of Rajya Sabha directly by the people. That happens in the United States of America, as well as the equal representation for the states can also be given, even though it's contentious, because the reason being is that the territorial integrity is not guaranteed in the United States, in India, which is guaranteed in the United States of America. The other potential solution, the second important solution that can be done, is that the breaking away these states or creating the smaller states, because right now people are fearful that the state of UP, because if you look at the share of the Uttar Pradesh in the total number of MPs, it happens is somewhere around the 14 to 15%, 540. So creating the smaller states of out of the Uttar Pradesh is going to reduce this apprehension, saying that the Uttar Pradesh is going to dominate the Lok Sabha, or the matter of a fact, the state of Bihar is going to dominate the Lok Sabha. So creating the smaller states out of the bigger states can be the solution. But here again there is a catch, saying because the creating a smaller states, should not be the solution just because of the delimitation. Rather, it should be the solution for the governance. As if you remember, the ex chief minister, Ms. Mayawati, has envisioned of creating more states of the state of Uttar Pradesh. So that can be the one potential solution, that is the creating, because smaller states is going to ensure the representation for the the right set of a political representation is going to be carried out. That is the point number two. The point number three that we can think of is the capping the number of Lok Sabha seats on a individual state, which is again a contentious one, because where the underrepresentation and over representation of the people will happen, the states which have failed to control the population, we see that means fertility rates are still very high. So we see a single MP is representing more number of people. The states which control the population, where the fertility rates are constantly declining, the over representation is happening. There underrepresentation is happening. Here, over representation is happening. So this upholding the principle of one vote, one value, that can be done. That is the capping the number of seats, or the greater bargain can be achieved, where the central government through the finance commission can address the issue of the tax devolution or the grants that are being given to the states, where the greater bargain can be achieved, where the southern states agree to give the more number of seats in the northern states in lieu of having a greater share of the taxes, having a greater share of the grants that can be achieved. Because the problem with the delimitation is that, see, just mere increase in the number of seats will not guarantee you the efficiency of the Lok Sabha. Because look at what is happening in the Lok Sabha right now as well. Or for mere of a fact, if you look at some of these stats out of the 70, can you see here? Average annual sitting days in the 17th Lok Sabha, you can see only 55, 1666 annual sittings I'm talking about. Look at the number of annual sittings is on a lower end. And moreover, if you look at the bills that were referred to the standing committees, in 17th Lok Sabha, only 16% of the bills were referred to the standing committees. 16, that was only 28%. Look at even the time taken to pass the bills. 15th Lok Sabha session, that is the UPA era, UPA 2, 36% of the bills were passed less than 1 hour. 17th, 35% of the bills passed less than 1 hour. Look at the days between the introduction and passing the, that is again is quite alarming. So there is no conclusive evidence that clearly suggests that just mere increase in the number of member of parliament, we are going to have the increase, the better efficiency. Moreover, the government hiked the salary of the member of parliament. They also hiked the allowance of the member of parliament. They also hiked the pension of the member of parliament, which is going to create undue burden on the state exchequer. That is again one of the cause as well, because it is going to increase the burden on the state finances, the central government finances. That also aspect needs to be looked into. Coming to the conclusion of discussion, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel during the state reorganization said that the problem of the state is so difficult that you can never solve it if you are not determined to do so. See, the question of delimitation is like a time ticking bomb, which has been, postponed from a 1971, then to 2001, then to the 2026. That means it's been more than a 50 years where the boundaries of the territorial constituencies has not been changed. So the political underrepresentation is happening. So it is a right time for a central government, for the states to come together and to uphold the true federal principles, where the a kind of a agreement can be come to, they can come to an agreement, the bargain can happen, they agree to give a more political representation, as I said, in lieu of the better grants and the better tax devolution. That can be done. The India as a dream needs to exist, continue. So India should not miss this opportunity, would risk inflicting further damage to the India's federal design. So that's it in this particular video session. Thank you. Do like, do share, and do subscribe.